Yo guys, I got another video for you today, and this one's about a new guy on the scene that you probably haven't heard of before. It's Bilal Fawaz. Very entertaining, very unorthodox, but he is an interesting fighter that I want to talk about today, that if you don't know about, get to know. If you haven't already, like and subscribe and comment in the comment section below if you know about Bilal Fawaz. And if you don't, check out his fights, because that's who I'm talking about today, and he is interesting. So let's get into this. 14 fights, 12 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. This guy hasn't got a remarkable he hasn't really got a remarkable record. If anything, unremarkable. And the other thing that is pretty unremarkable is his age. The guy is 38. It's stunned me when I realized how old he is, because what am I doing talking about a guy who's 38? What am I expecting him to do? But let me cook. Let me cook. I found this guy fighting another prospect at the time, and this guy was called Bostan. I've got his stats here, and this is obviously after Bilal had upset the apple card. He was fighting Junaid Bostan when Junaid Bostan was undefeated, and Bostan was considered a very talented prospect, way more impressive, with 8 KOs in his 11 wins at the time, no, 10 wins at the time, and he was undefeated. He was looking like he's the new up and comer prospect. He's much younger at 24 years old. His alias is Starboy, so you know where it's going. The commentators were very biased. I think that's what kind of got me on Fawaz's side, because they were so biased. They made Fawaz seem like he was worthless and he was just there to get beat up. And I'm always here for the underdog, so I was like, hey, I'm going to support the person that they are clearly not supporting and calling an underdog and destined to fail. I was like, all right, come on, Fawaz, let's do it. I don't know these two, so I just went with him. So little did I know, this was their second fight that I was watching, and they already had the draw in their first fight. And that was what was interesting. The commentators then started telling us about the whole story between Bostan and Fawaz, and I was really getting into the fight. Then the fight started going insane. These two are proper throwing like proper bombs at each other, but you can clearly see that Fawaz's style is very unorthodox and very, very interesting. As you can see, this is their first fight, and Bostan was not happy. I think Fawaz was just happy to be there, but he definitely, when I saw the highlights in this fight, he definitely at the beginning was a bit surprised, but then got into the fight, felt confident that he could do something in the fight, and was really pushing forward with his type of unawkward style. Sorry, not unawkward. Awkward style, unorthodox style. It wasn't your traditional boxing, technique, but he did have some decent style to him. He had a decent technique to him. He was able to stay in the pocket with Bostan and punch with him and not lose ground, which was very impressive with this unorthodox style that he implements. So let's get into the fight that I watched. He came in with smoke and he made it uncomfortable for Bostan. He was catching him with some eye-catching shots, really hurting Bostan and making him really uncomfortable, to the point that he drew him into his style and his fight. So Bostan was trying to fight Fawaz's fight, and Fawaz was just getting the better of the exchanges and was just basically beating him up at one point. He was winning the fight, and I was so so happy for him, because I was like, yeah, let's go for the underdog. But he didn't really fight like an underdog. He felt like really comfortable there and was very confident in himself. And I'm not gonna lie, this picture right here was very wholesome to see. To see his reaction when he won that fight, clearly it meant a lot to him, and I didn't know how to feel after this fight. I was like, maybe this is just one of those things that happens where you end up beating a prospect, and that prospect ends up going on to be, let's say, a world champion or something, but you can at least say, when you go and see your grandkids when you're older, you be like, yeah, that guy, I beat him, when he was still a prospect, even though he's a world champion and that, I was still able to get one over on him, or whatever type of thing. So that's what I was thinking. That he's probably gonna, go into obscurity after this for Waz, but he's had his victory in this fight. Little did I know he would go on to do even better than this. I didn't realize at the time, but this was actually for the British title, and that is a prestigious title in boxing. Like in British boxing history, it's very prestigious. So I was impressed. I was like, wow, there were some stakes to this fight. He got himself a British title. He could go on and have maybe a bit more of a bigger payday with that belt. Can give him a bit of leverage on the money side, and he could have a decent fight after this. But still, I was like, I don't know if it's gonna, lead to anything better for him. I felt like maybe Boston after this will have to do a little bit of rebuilding, but he's probably going to be the one that comes out, better later on in his career, and Fawaz is probably just going to die out. However, I was wrong. He ends up getting a very decent fight in his next fight against the Commonwealth champion in Davis. And Davis is pretty decent. This guy is, I think, a big step up for Waz to take, considering his opponents haven't been that great. And this opponent he's fighting nearly beat Josh Kelly. And Josh Kelly at the time was considered one of the hottest prospects around. He was a Olympian, a very successful amateur, and a big hot shot in the pro scene at the time, with his style, showboating, and all of that, making everyone feel like he's the new Lomachenko, entering the Matrix and stuff. Like, he was getting really high praise, Josh Kelly, in his early fights, coming into the pro scene, until he got humbled with a couple of fights where he didn't look as special as he was making himself to be. And these fighters, this guy is one of the fighters that did it. Davis nearly beat him. Davis drew him out into a split decision win. Basically just took him to the wire and still got the win, but really made him look like he wasn't all as he was cutting out to be. He was not as great as everyone thought he was. And also, it gave Davis some good reputation and good respect. So, coming into this fight, he was definitely the A side. And honestly, I don't think anyone in their right mind would have thought Fawaz was going to win this, or, like, had certainty that Fawaz was going to come out and be a victor. A lot of people were saying that Fawaz did have a good run against Boston, and maybe he's met his match in Davis. But he had other plans. The confidence coming out of Fawaz was oozing. It was crazy. This guy came out like he knew he was going to win this fight. Mate, excuse me. He was putting it on Davis. And I think Davis was unpleasantly surprised with this fight. He came out all, guns blazing and really showing his style and showing his confidence and showing his brashness. He was ready and he was well conditioned. He was just super on it for this fight, and he was showboating. Excuse me. Oh my God, I'm coughing loads today. Got a bit of a sore throat. Bear with me. Yeah, no, Fawaz was really showboating as well, really showing his confident side and putting on a show for everyone. Very entertaining. And I think it really worked in this fight. He was almost Billy Joe Saunders with the way he was making Davis miss sometimes and showboating after and not looking at him while he's dodging, looking to the side and just, you know, dodging with his sixth sense and stuff. He was very entertaining, a bit distasteful for some people with the showboating, but nevertheless, very entertaining. And he comfortably won this fight. I'm like, wow. Now, he doesn't just have a British title, he's got a Commonwealth title. He's going up. What's next for him? And I didn't know this at the time, but he got himself another fight on the undercard of Eggington and Walker. And I was like, wow, that's very impressive. I didn't realize it was on at the same time as the Miller fight, so I didn't actually capture it at the time. I had to watch it a couple days later, but it was the first one that I watched. I ignored the main event. I went straight to Fawaz. I was like, let's see what's going on here. I did see the little bit of a build up, the press conference, and his little, little bust up with this guy Kelly. He's also another Kelly. Apparently a very decent journeyman, and in this fight he was very good. Surprised me. But the way Fawaz was behaving, I was like, this is very, very good for him. Very, very good PR, because he was making himself look like the heel of the show. He was like, oh, I'm cocky and I'm brash and a bit, of the bad guy, but in a way that will get people watching and get people trying to see this buzz, and he really made a buzz for this fight. You could tell that there was a bit of a needle between both guys, and Kelly seemed like he really wanted to shut up Fawaz, but Fawaz was like, I'm better than you, mate. And honestly, he brought that into the ring, and he couldn't get enough shots to show. Apart from this one, which kind of shows the ending, he did kind of wear him down. But at the beginning, lot of showboating from Fawaz again, all of that entertainment, really feeling himself. But I gotta give Kelly his credit. Throughout the first 3, 4 rounds, he was very solid, disciplined, kept his hands high, and was really digging to Fawaz's body. But something about Fawaz and his conditioning is just impressive. And his age, again, 38. And he ate those punches like they were nothing, and he was really just enjoying himself there, like it was a sparring session. And then he started to really pile on the pressure here and there with his like combinations and stuff. He was really getting to Kelly, and every time he hit him proper, you could see it shook Kelly to his core, and it was really making him shake. It was really sinking into him, even though it looked like Kelly was the one that was trying to sink his shots in. Faz was effortlessly getting to Kelly with his shots. And yeah, there was a couple of times I looked like he might have punched himself out, but Fawaz's recovery was pretty decent, and he never seemed to get overwhelmed by anything from Kelly, and he was still in control of the fight. His ring generalship in these rounds were very impressive, because there was times where he was pretty gassed. Fawaz, making little silly mistakes like overusing the tank when the guy is clearly not gonna go down at any time soon, and he ended up gassing out, but he was confident enough in being able to handle the situation and move about, dodge, and keep himself out of harm's way while recovering, and then going back onto the onslaught till eventually got him to retire on his stool. This was the round before, I'm sure it was the round before the retirement on the stool, where he nearly, you know, I guess, stopped him. Really started to pile on the pressure, and I think that was just enough from Kelly's corner, and they didn't want him to take any more damage, which I thought was very smart from their side. So that is that is the updates on Fawaz, and that's him right now. So, what's going to happen in the future? I don't know. But right now, he's on an upwards trajectory, and he deserves to get a big fight, a decently big fight. I'm not saying a world title fight or anything, but definitely a decent money fight, a decent money fight with someone of decent status. Try to build maybe some needle with someone, maybe from a, you know, I'll say an international level. I'm not going to say world class level, but a definitely international level. And I can see that happening for him, and he deserves it with the way he's been fighting. Let me know, guys, what you think of this guy, Bilal Fawaz. Have you already known about him? And maybe I'm just making it up that he's this guy that no one knows about. I thought he was, pretty unknown until he beat Bostan. But let me know if you did know about him, and if you're watching him, and what you think of this guy. Do you think he's got something left in the tank that can still surprise us? Or you think this is the height of his career and that's it for him, and he might just have another, decent fight or decent payday and he will bow out? He is 38 at the end of the day. Let me know, guys, what you think. Like and subscribe, because I do make videos daily and I do give you guys boxing content that you will enjoy. So, like and subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next video. Peace.